New York City in the 1970s was a place of contrasts. While it was known for its energy and liveliness, it was also a city struggling with rising crime rates, a dwindling economy, and social unrest. The streets pulsed with a raw intensity that made New York feel alive, yet vulnerable. Against this backdrop, in the summer of 1976, a new kind of terror began to spread. A terror that turned those vibrant streets into haunting paths of death and dread. David Berkowitz, the man who would become infamous as the Son of Sam, was just another face in the crowd, blending into the everyday hustle of the city. But lurking beneath his unremarkable appearance was a mind filled with chaos and violent impulses that would soon be unleashed on the unsuspecting citizens of New York. It was July the 29th, 1976. The night was warm, and two young women, Donna Loria and Jody Valenti, were sitting in a car parked outside their home in the Bronx, chatting and laughing. They had no reason to feel unsafe. After all, this was their neighborhood, a place they had always considered home. But that sense of security was shattered in an instant when a man approached their car, raised a .44 caliber revolver, and fired multiple shots through the window. Donna was killed instantly. Jody, though wounded, survived. The killer vanished into the night without leaving a trace. There were no fingerprints, no clear motive, and no witnesses who had seen the man's face. The randomness of the attack made it even more terrifying. Why these two women? Why here? Why now? The city was shocked, but few could have predicted that this was just the beginning of something far more sinister. Over the next few months, the killer would strike again and again, each time targeting young couples, usually sitting in parked cars. His method was coldly efficient. He would walk up to the car, fire his revolver at close range, and disappear. The victims never had a chance. In October 1976, Carl Denaro and Rosemary Keenan were sitting in their car when the killer fired through the window. Carl was seriously injured, but both Adai and Rosemary survived. In November, another couple, Donna DeMasi and Joanne Lomino, were shot while sitting on their porch. Again, the killer escaped without leaving any solid clues behind. As the body count grew, so did the panic in New York City. The attacks seemed random, and the police were at a loss to explain them. Detective Charles Warren, one of the lead investigators, stood over each crime scene, trying to piece together the puzzle. The pattern was clear: young couples, nighttime, parked cars. But beyond that, the killer left no traces. "He's hunting them," Warren muttered, his frustration growing with each new murder. Like prey, New Yorkers, especially young couples, began to change their habits. No one felt safe anymore. People avoided sitting in cars at night. Bars and restaurants, once bustling with life, began closing early. The streets of New York, normally so full of activity, grew quiet after dark. Fear had taken hold. Then in April 1977, everything changed. The killer left behind a letter addressed to the New York Police Department. In this letter, the world finally learned his chosen name, the Son of Sam. The letter was a disturbing glimpse into the mind of the killer. It was filled with bizarre, rambling statements about a demon named Sam, who commanded the killer to murder. Berkowitz claimed to be Sam's servant, carrying out the wishes of this dark force. The letter also taunted the police, daring them to catch him, and warning that he would continue killing. "I am Sam's servant," the letter read. "His voice commands me to kill." The media seized on the name Son of Sam, and the story dominated the headlines. News anchors, in solemn voices, reported the latest developments. Psychologists appeared on TV, trying to explain the mind of a killer who believed he was possessed by a demon. The killer's words sent chills through the city. The randomness of his attacks had been terrifying, but now, with his delusions revealed, he seemed even more dangerous. For Detective Warren, the letter felt like a slap in the face. The killer was toying with them. He was leaving just enough clues to terrify the city, but never enough to get caught. Warren read the letter again, his anger boiling over. He crumpled it in his fist. "This isn't just a killer," he said to his team. "He's trying to create a legend." Meanwhile, David Berkowitz was descending deeper into madness. In his small, cluttered apartment in Yonkers, he scribbled furiously in his journal, writing letters to the police, filling page after page with rambling thoughts about Sam and his dark mission. He truly believed, or convinced himself to believe, that he was under the control of a demonic force. Sam, according to Berkowitz, was speaking to him through the barking of his neighbor's dog. Each bark, he believed, was an instruction, a command to kill. Berkowitz became obsessed with this idea, convinced that he was not acting of his own free will, but was merely an instrument of Sam's will. "Sam, I'll do what you ask," Berkowitz muttered to himself in the darkness of his apartment. "The world deserves this. They have to pay." He spent hours each night planning his next attack, poring over maps, scrawling out letters, and waiting for the moment when Sam's voice would once again command him to kill. As his delusions deepened, so did the danger to the city. As the summer of 1977 approached, New York was a city on edge. Every new murder, every new letter seemed to tighten the grip of fear. The press dubbed it the Summer of Sam, and the tension was palpable. People whispered about the son of Sam in coffee shops, in grocery stores, on subway platforms. No one felt safe, and everyone was looking over their shoulder. Bars closed early. Parks, once full of couples strolling under the stars, were now eerily quiet at night. The streets of New York, normally so vibrant, seemed empty. The fear was suffocating. Detective Warren and his team worked tirelessly, following up on every possible lead, trying to find anything that might lead them to the killer. But each time they thought they had a clue, it led nowhere. "He's playing us," Warren muttered, pacing in the police station, exhausted from sleepless nights. "But we'll catch him. We have to." Then in July 1977, everything changed. A woman named Cecilia Davis, living in Brooklyn, noticed something strange the night of the most recent shooting. She had seen a man loitering near a parked car, acting suspiciously. More importantly, she remembered seeing him receive a parking ticket for being too close to a fire hydrant. The police traced the ticket to a car registered to David Berkowitz in Yonkers. When officers searched Berkowitz's car, they found a duffel bag filled with ammunition, maps of the crime scenes, and another letter addressed to the police. This was the break they had been waiting for. They had their suspect. On August 10th, 1977, police surrounded Berkowitz's apartment building. It was late at night when Berkowitz emerged, casually walking toward his car, unaware that his time as the son of Sam was about to come to an end. As Berkowitz reached for his car door, officers moved in. Guns drawn, they ordered him to put his hands up. Berkowitz turned slowly, a strange smile crossing his face. "You got me," he said, his voice calm, almost relieved. "I am the son of Sam." The officers were stunned by his lack of resistance. After months of terror, the city's most infamous killer had been caught without a struggle. In the weeks following his arrest, Berkowitz's trial revealed the full extent of his madness. At first, he continued to insist that he was under the control of a demon, that Sam had commanded him to kill. But as the trial went on, Berkowitz admitted that the story was a lie. There was no Sam. There was no demonic possession. The truth was simpler and far more tragic. Berkowitz had been a lonely, isolated man, consumed by anger and resentment. He felt invisible, unnoticed by the world, and killing had given him a sense of power and control that he had never felt before. The letters, the claims of demonic possession, the bizarre behavior. It had all been a twisted attempt to create a legend, to make the world see him. The sentence was inevitable, life in prison without the possibility of parole. David Berkowitz now spends his days in a maximum security prison, reflecting on the lives he took and the fear he spread across New York City. In the years since his arrest, he has claimed to have found God and has become a born-again Christian. He now refers to himself as the Son of Hope and has written letters of apology to the families of his victims. But for many, Berkowitz's remorse come too late. The pain he caused, the lives he destroyed, can never be undone. Berkowitz's story is not just one of madness and murder. It is a story of a man who, in his quest for recognition, created a reign of terror that forever changed the city of New York. Decades later, the name Son of Sam still echoes through the streets of New York. It is a reminder of how fragile safety can be, how one man's delusions can grip an entire city in fear. For those who lived through that time, the memory of the Summer of Sam is still fresh, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the most ordinary of people. David Berkowitz remains behind bars, where he will spend the rest of his life. He may now seek redemption, but the scars he left on New York will never fully heal. The Son of Sam may be gone, but his shadow still lingers.